You're listening to Underground USA News.
Friday, September 12, 2025, Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old from Washington County, Utah, was arrested as the suspected assassin of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, gunned down during a speech at Utah Valley University on September 10th. Authorities, led by Utah Governor Spencer Cox, revealed that Robinson, who confessed to his father, acted alone in what Cox described as a political assassination. The suspect, a third-year electrical apprenticeship student at Dixie Technical College, left behind a Mauser 30-06 rifle with engraved bullet casings bearing anti-fascist messages, including references to the Italian song Bella Ciao and video game culture, hinting at his radicalized motives. Cox noted that the suspect had recently become more political and expressed disdain for Kirk, with an unfired bullet casing at the scene inscribed with "Hey, fascist." Catch. Robinson's family, who also noted his recent political fervor, aided law enforcement in his capture after a 33-hour manhunt, with the suspect now facing charges of aggravated murder and obstruction of justice. This tragic act underscores the growing threat of political violence in America, demanding a resolute stand for civility and justice. In response to the tragic assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the Pentagon has declared a firm zero-tolerance policy for any military personnel or Department of War civilians who celebrate or mock the death of a fellow American. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell emphasized that such behavior is unacceptable, stating, "The Department of War has zero tolerance for it," a sentiment echoed by War Department Secretary Pete Hegseth, who vowed to address violations immediately. Military leaders, including Air Force Secretary Troy Mank and Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, reinforced that celebrating political violence contradicts core military values, with the Pentagon actively monitoring social media for violations. This stance reflects a commitment to maintaining discipline and integrity within the ranks amid a polarized climate. An Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer fatally shot Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, a 38-year-old illegal immigrant Mexican national, during a traffic stop in Franklin Park, Illinois on September 12th after the suspect struck and severely injured the officer with his vehicle while attempting to flee. The event, part of ICE's Operation Midway, blitz targeting criminal illegal immigrants in Chicago's Sanctuary City, underscores the dangers faced by federal agents amid rising tensions fueled by local policies that critics argue shield lawbreakers. The Department of Homeland Security reported that Villegas Gonzalez had a history of reckless driving, and the officer, now stable, acted in accordance with training to protect public safety. This shooting follows a pattern of resistance to ICE operations, with community activists and social media reportedly encouraging defiance, further complicating enforcement efforts in the region. President Trump announced the deployment of the National Guard to Memphis, Tennessee, as part of his ongoing initiative to curb violent crime in American cities, following a similar operation in Washington, D.C. Speaking on Fox and Friends, Trump described Memphis as deeply troubled and emphasized that both the city's Democrat Mayor Paul Young and Republican Governor Bill Lee support the move, signaling bipartisan agreement on the need for stronger law enforcement measures. While Memphis has seen a reported 44% drop in crime incidents in 2025 compared to 2024, it still grapples with one of the nation's highest violent crime rates, prompting Trump to pledge federal resources, including the potential use of military support to restore safety. Critics, including some local Democrats, argue the deployment risks escalating tensions, but supporters like Senator Marsha Blackburn commend the administration's focus on law and order in a city struggling with systemic crime challenges. In a move to address Albuquerque's escalating crime rates, New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's deployment of the National Guard under Operation Zia Shield is showing tangible results, with a reported 20% drop in shootings compared to 2024, initiated in April 2025 following a request from the Albuquerque Police Department. The operation has seen 60 to 70 Guard members assist with non-enforcement tasks like securing crime scenes and monitoring traffic, freeing up police to focus on high-crime areas like Central Avenue. Despite concerns from groups like the ACLU about potential civil rights issues, the governor's office highlights the initiative's success in enhancing community safety amid challenges like the fentanyl epidemic and juvenile crime. This strategic use of state resources underscores a commitment to restoring order while navigating local law enforcement shortages. California lawmakers have passed Senate Bill 6-27, dubbed the No Secret Police Act, prohibiting law enforcement officers, including federal agents, from covering their faces during operations, with a companion bill, SB 805, mandating visible identification, introduced by Democrat state senators in response to masked federal immigration raids. The legislation aims to enhance transparency, but has drawn criticism from Republicans and law enforcement groups, who argue it jeopardizes officers by exposing them to doxing and violence. Critics, including the Peace Officers Research Association of California, highlight that the state lacks authority to regulate federal agents, potentially rendering the law unenforceable, while supporters claim it prevents intimidation and impersonation. The bill awaits Governor Gavin Newsom's signature, raising questions about balancing public trust with officer safety in a politically charged climate. President Trump has announced plans to investigate billionaire George Soros and his network of far-left NGOs, suggesting a potential RICO case due to their funding of violent protests and radical causes. Following the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, Trump emphasized the need to dismantle the dark money ecosystem, including Soros's Open Society foundations, the Tides Foundation and others, which are accused of fueling chaos, from street riots to electing lenient and activist district attorneys. Critics argue these groups exploit tax-exempt status to destabilize American communities, while defenders claim they support legitimate advocacy. The probe signals a broader crackdown on leftist organizations as Trump vows to restore order. In a move signaling a shift from the Biden administration's climate-centric financial oversight, the U.S. Financial Stability Oversight Council, led by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, voted unanimously on September 10th to disband two committees tasked with monitoring climate-related financial risks. The Climate-Related Financial Risk Committee and its advisory counterpart, established under former Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, were criticized for diverting resources from core economic priorities. Bessent's decision aligns with a conservative focus on reducing regulatory burdens and fostering economic growth, arguing that climate risks should not overshadow systemic financial stability. Critics of the move contend it downplays environmental threats, but supporters see it as a pragmatic return to fiscal fundamentals. Senate Republicans, led by Majority Leader John Thune, are moving to implement the nuclear option to overhaul Senate confirmation rules, allowing President Trump's nominees to be voted on in batches with a simple majority, bypassing Democrat filibusters. This escalation follows the collapse of bipartisan negotiations, with Democrats, under Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, accused of stalling over 140 of Trump's sub-cabinet and executive branch picks through unprecedented blockades. The GOP strategy, rooted in a modified 2023 Democrat proposal, aims to clear the backlog and restore a streamlined process, though critics like Schumer argue it risks turning the Senate into a conveyor belt for unqualified nominees. This move, while framed as a necessary response to Democrat intransigence, could set a precedent for future rules changes, potentially altering Senate dynamics for years to come. The assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk on September 10th has sparked intense backlash against U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar, Democrat from Minnesota, after her comments in a Substack interview with Mehdi Hassan, where she criticized Kirk's rhetoric while expressing condolences. Conservatives on social media, including influential accounts like Libs of TikTok and End Wokeness, condemned Omar's remarks as disrespectful and inflammatory, with some calling for her resignation from Congress. Omar's office countered that she condemned Kirk's murder and expressed empathy for his family. But critics argue her comments, laced with profanity, contribute to a broader pattern of divisive political rhetoric amid rising political violence in the U.S. The controversy underscores deep national polarization, with many conservatives viewing Omar's statements as an attempt to justify or downplay the tragedy. A federal appeals court on September 11th overturned a lower court's injunction, allowing the Trump administration to block Medicaid funding to to Planned Parenthood for 1 year under the Big Beautiful Bill Act. This ruling, supported by a unanimous decision from 3 Biden-appointed judges, targets non-abortion services like contraception and cancer screenings, which Planned Parenthood provides to nearly half its Medicaid-reliant patients. Critics argue this could disrupt healthcare access for low-income individuals, while supporters, including pro-life groups, celebrate the decision as a step toward ending taxpayer support for an organization they claim prioritizes abortion over comprehensive care. The case continues to spark debate as Planned Parenthood vows to fight the funding cut in court. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reiterated his firm stance against the establishment of a Palestinian state, emphasizing Israel's security concerns and the need to maintain control over disputed territories. Speaking at a recent event, Netanyahu argued that a Palestinian state would pose an existential threat to Israel, citing ongoing conflicts and the need for defensible borders. This position has sparked renewed debate, with critics arguing it undermines peace efforts, while supporters maintain it reflects the reality of regional instability. Netanyahu's comments come as Israel navigates complex diplomatic relations and internal political pressures, with no immediate resolution in sight for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has ignited controversy by lamenting Spain's lack of nuclear weapons, suggesting they could halt Israel's military campaign against Hamas in Gaza. A statement, critics argue, veers dangerously close to advocating violence against a democratic ally. Speaking on September 8, Sanchez announced an arms embargo and other sanctions against Israel, accusing it of genocide in Gaza, while acknowledging Spain's limited military clout without nuclear capabilities, aircraft carriers, or oil reserves. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the remarks as a blatant genocidal threat to the Jewish state, while Spanish opposition leaders, including Vox's Santiago Abascal, accused Sanchez of aligning with Hamas to deflect from domestic corruption scandals. The comments, made amid Spain's broader anti-Israel policies like recognizing Palestinian statehood, have drawn sharp rebukes for inflaming tensions and undermining diplomatic norms. A recent United Nations report exposes the escalating brutality of North Korea's regime under Kim Jong-un, highlighting a surge in executions for citizens caught watching or sharing foreign media, such as South Korean dramas, as part of a broader crackdown on personal freedoms. Since 2020, the regime has increasingly employed public executions by firing squad to instill fear, with new laws since 2015 expanding the death penalty for such acts, alongside heightened surveillance through advanced technologies. The report, based on over 300 interviews with defectors, paints a grim picture of a nation where even private entertainment choices can lead to death, underscoring the regime's iron grip on information and its chilling disregard for human rights. This development serves as a stark reminder of the dangers posed by totalitarian control, where individual liberty is sacrificed to maintain ideological purity. George Aberyan, the incoming president-elect of the Oxford Union, has sparked outrage after allegedly posting messages celebrating the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Screenshots circulating online show Aberyan writing, "Charlie Kirk got shot, let's fucking go," in a WhatsApp group, and "Charlie Kirk got shot LOL" on Instagram, comments he later deleted, claiming they were impulsive and did not reflect his values. The Oxford Union condemned his remarks, emphasizing their opposition to political violence and distancing the current leadership from Aberyan's views. Critics, including former union presidents, have called for his resignation, arguing that such statements from a leader of a prestigious debating society undermine its commitment to free speech and civil discourse. Aberyan's apology, citing Kirk's controversial rhetoric as context, has done little to quell the conservative community's demand for accountability. China's newest and most advanced aircraft carrier, the Fujian, recently navigated the Taiwan Strait en route to the South China Sea for sea trials, a move that underscores Beijing's growing naval power and its assertive stance toward Taiwan, which it claims as its territory. The Chinese Navy described the transit as a routine part of the carrier's testing process, not aimed at any specific target. But the timing, coinciding with US-Japan military exercises in Okinawa, raises concerns about China's intentions in this geopolitically sensitive region. Taiwan's defense ministry monitored the situation closely, while Japan's forces spotted the Fujian near the disputed Senkaku Islands, highlighting Beijing's broader regional ambitions. This development, coupled with China's claim over the Taiwan Strait as its territorial waters, a claim rejected by Taiwan and the U.S., signals a potential escalation in tensions, as the U.S. and its allies continue to assert the strait's status as an international waterway through periodic naval transits. In response to Russian drones violating Polish airspace, NATO has launched Eastern Sentry, a robust initiative to strengthen air defenses across Eastern Europe, signaling a firm stance against Moscow's provocations. Announced by Secretary General Mark Rutte on September 12, the operation integrates advanced air and ground-based defenses, increased NATO coordination, and enhanced surveillance to deter further Russian aggression. This move, prompted by incidents like the downing of drones over Poland, reflects the alliance's commitment to protecting its members, particularly as Russia conducts its Zapad 20-25 military drills near NATO borders. While some view this as a necessary countermeasure to Russia's reckless actions, others caution it could escalate tensions, underscoring the need for a measured approach to avoid broader conflict.
You're listening to Underground USA News.